Tyler, have you ever seen such joy from a person as watching Connor see the AdMech reveals?
I think like a child at Christmas is the only comparable joy I've ever seen.
Well, we're not talking AdMech this week. We're talking tournaments on the Vox Cascadia podcast. Welcome, gentlemen. How you doing, Connor?
I'm doing very good. As we mentioned, Mechanicum, not Mechanicus. There is a slight difference. Got
We're not. We're not.
reveals.
We're not talking AdMech this week.
I don't
Tournaments.
care. They
Tournaments this
got
week.
reveals, and I'm happy because they're all fantastic.
Do you like the big platypus robot they had? Is that what it was?
Might as well be, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite models they've had for the Mechanicum pretty much always, and I'm glad it's finally in plastic, so hopefully it's not stupid, awful to build, or expensive.
And Tyler, you got to spend like an entire weekend with yours truly. How are you doing after that, buddy?
I mean, like, I feel amazing. I got to be passenger princess all weekend, and like that was lovely.
Yeah, Jenna's usually my passenger princess, but you were 100% passenger princess this weekend, and you picked the music, and well done. We can get to that a little bit later, but also this week, besides our tournament, there was a little tiny tournament in Dallas that Games Workshop put on. So did y'all keep an eye on that? I know Tyler, you and I we were checking the scoreboards.
Yeah, when I could get a chance to take a peek at it, on Saturday and then obviously Sunday, I was. It looks like incredible competition, sharks all over the place. Dakota smashing it out with his vet guard, even post nerf. So speaking of Dakota, I was listening to Squad Games podcast today, and did you hear that they got 3 golden tickets for the AVTT?
I did. That is wild. 3 fucking tickets?
No, absolutely fucking insane. Congratulations, Dakota. You deserve it. I know you work so hard for the community and running your events down there. You always kill it at LVO, and your podcast is awesome. You're an awesome dude. So congratulations. Maybe we can get you on here soon. I'd love to talk to you. Talk to you about your events and stuff.
Yeah, Dakota, come on next week. You and Giacomo, come on and talk about Squad Games and tell us the secret sauce to getting 3 tickets to the World Championships.
Yeah, we want one for an upcoming event that will be named soon.
Well, I think we know what the event is, but let's just get 3.
I think that we need to do a team tournament. I mean, that's incredible though. Like, you win the AVTT and all of your team goes. That's so cool.
Connor, what do you think about the fact that Squad Games ended up getting 3 golden tickets for their All Valley Team tournament in September?
That's awesome. I didn't know that until just now, so that's super cool. I'm definitely going to want to try and go to that for sure now.
Well, I think we need to get like a Kill Team Cascadia road trip going on, maybe?
I was planning on going down for it because I think I still have the ticket from Killscream 2. So we'll definitely have to get something scheduled for that.
Well, that's right. You got the I didn't win anything, but I'm a nice guy.
I wouldn't describe it like that, but sure.
I'm definitely going down this year. I kind of sad I missed it last year. So, definitely Brandon Bean and I were already talking this weekend about going down. So I think it's on the table for sure.
Well, congratulations on Squad Games and your 3 fucking golden tickets. They gave away 2 this weekend, and I was like, all right, that's a lot of golden tickets. But now they're giving away 3 in that September event. So I guess we'll see you there then.
And then obviously Chris Bacchi taking the win with Pathfinders. He's just an incredible player all around. I'm not surprised to see him take a win and get that golden ticket.
Well, I love that you brought up Chris Bacchi because Chris Bacchi was nice enough to join me earlier today for an interview. So let's hear from the man himself about his Dallas win. All right, so we're joined today by the winner of the Dallas Open, Chris Bacchi. Chris, welcome to Vox Cascadia.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here. How's it going, Chuck?
It's good. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations on your win this past weekend.
Thank you. A lot of wonderful, wonderful people there. It was a fantastic event.
Now, I know of the legend of Chris Bacchi from the scene, but let's find out a little bit about you for the people who don't know about you. How long have you been in gaming, and what got you into Kill Team?
Oh man, I've been playing games for a super long time. I first got into 40K in the year 1999. That is before the turn of the century. Since then, I've played a ton of games like War Machine, Battlefield Gothic, Infinity, and 40K. Off and on since then. And I actually got into Kill Team through a friend who I was playing X-Wing with back in 2020 during the COVID days, and he sort of just dropped that he was into 40K. And I had met him through X-Wing, and I had no idea. And so from that, we started playing the last edition of Kill Team and transitioned into this one.
Sounds like the X-Wing to Kill Team slash Warhammer pipeline is a real thing. You're not the first person that I've heard that has had that journey.
Yeah, it was very fortunate he happened to drop it. You know, I had this giant 40K collection. I'd played 40K, but I hadn't played it for a long time because the rule set drifted pretty far from the kind of game that I wanted to play. So freaky coincidence.
So you've got a lot of wargaming experience. What do you like about Kill Team, specifically this edition?
I like this edition a whole lot more than the last edition. I love the really competitive, tight rule set, and just how positioning and you know managing scoring is key. You know, I think games that you know are more in a sort of what you bring versus how you play aren't very exciting for me. I'm not super into the list building aspect of it. I really like you know the decisions you make at game time to really matter, and Kill Team gives me that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I feel like I played a little bit of 40K myself, and it felt like it was less about, well, maybe for me at least, I felt like it was the list you bring rather than what you could do with it on the table. And if you didn't have the right meta stuff, that you just weren't going to compete. But Kill Team, with a lack of list building, a little bit of rostering, kind of takes that out of it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, more or less. There's obviously a meta within Kill Team, but you know, you can ask any player, and skill will carry the day. Not the team that you bring.
So I mentioned that you won this past weekend at Dallas, and you got some wins under your belt previous to that too. You were at the first World Championships, I guess. They're not calling it the World
Yeah,
Championships, but
I was at the World Championships of Warhammer before it was the World Championships of Warhammer. So the first year they ran the golden ticket system was in 2022. I went up to our wonderful friends up there up north at Tacoma and played in the Tacoma Open with my novitiates. I won that event. And that won me this first golden ticket to the at that year was in New Mexico, but would eventually turn into the event in Atlanta. At that point, there were only 8 of us who went to the first one, and I ended up placing third in that first World Championships. I brought Blooded. Since then, it's rebranded and grown quite a bit, but I was part of that original top 8 group that went to the first event.
that's awesome. I know Tyler from our scene here talks a lot about you being up at Tacoma, and I think he's still. Did you guys play each other at Tacoma?
We did, yes.
And it was that was a he brought novitiates that year too, right?
He did. We had a wonderful mirror match that was very tight and competitive, and certainly was dictated very heavily by the you can call them infamous or legendary boards that were at that first event. You know, wonderful support from GW, but the folks that were running the event weren't super familiar with Kill Team, so there was a little bit of information that was lost in translation between I think what the intent of the boards were supposed to look like versus what we actually had on the table. So unfortunately, some of those first Tacoma maps were a little bit shooting galleries, and unfortunately, the Condemner and the Novitiate Leader are quite good at shooting at long range, and that made a big difference during the tournament.
Yeah, they the legend of the Tacoma boards, it lives on, and
Yes,
anytime anybody puts down a board, you want to make sure it's not a Tacoma board.
exactly.
Now you're in the Bay Area, right?
Yes, I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm sort of the head of the Bats team. We're one of the teams in the area that competes. The local scene a few years ago, there was barely nothing, and one of the reasons I wanted to form a team in the first place was my insane jealousy of the Spaniards that I saw at the 2022 LVO. Where the Spaniards proceeded to fly out and dominate the Americans. For the most part, there's a little bit of an asterisk there. But the Spaniards, you know, one of the things that I was pretty envious of was they were wearing these team jerseys. They had a lot of camaraderie, and these guys were getting, you know, 5, 6 games a week of Kill Team. And at the time, that sounded insane to me. Like there's no way you could possibly be getting that much Kill Team in a week. So I made it my mission after that to try to build a team and actually build that in my area. And one of the things that's happened since then is that you know I've been pretty successful in building a pretty big team. We got 15 or 16 members now, but even better than that is there's been some rival teams that have cropped up in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. So we have a really thriving local community of multiple different teams and groups that throw events. So you know we didn't have a local tournament for years, and now there's local you know monthly tournaments running every single month. We're spoiled for choice. So it's been wonderful seeing the scene evolve. I a little bit like you guys in Cascadia, who have also been massively successful in launching a local scene. I remember, you know, Tyler talking about how he felt he was in sort of the same position back in Tacoma when I visited a couple years ago, saying there wasn't much of a scene there and he wanted to build it. And by golly, you were successful in that.
Yeah, I feel like Kill Team all over the place has been doing really good, and like you said, the Northwest, it's really grown up, and we may have even riffed on the bats a little bit with our cats competitive scene up here.
Yes.
So, not saying it's a direct rip off, but it's kind of a direct rip off. So,
Yeah, I had whispers of that before it formed, and it definitely had my my very explicit blessing. I thought it was an awesome idea. There's even further than that. There's a little bit of synergy with the Brooklyn Rats, then the Bay Area bats, and then the Cascadia cats. So it's all the animals everywhere.
now I've heard that, and I heard this on another podcast, that to join bats, you have to go into the bat cave and take down a bat. Is that true?
That is true, with a little bit of an asterisk that there's only certain bats that you have to take down to join. But yes, we have a little bit of a ritual behind joining. So it's a very special event when we bring on a new member. We announce in the Discord that a baby bat is born, and it's a really wonderful event that everyone likes to celebrate. So it's a pretty exciting thing when it happens.
Is there any sort of like hanging from your feet from the ceiling, extended like hazing that you guys do to
Un-
bring someone
unf
in?
Unfortunately, I'm bound to silence on that one. So unfortunately, that is Team NDA.
All right. Well, that makes sense, and you probably don't, might dissuade people from joining, or people might want to join even more. Then
No, all jokes aside, we've got a absolutely wonderful group of people that play with us week to week. We have pretty regular, Bat Cave hangouts. Have pizza. And people just really enjoy themselves with food and drinks and just have a good time.
you guys have a local store that you meet at, or do you travel store to store or somebody's
We we
house?
we have a few local stores that we compete at, but the scene that we're the area we're covering is pretty broad, and most of the games that we play are in that Bat Cave, which happens to be in my garage, and that's I've got the entire garage basically dedicated to a Kill Team gaming space. So we have rooms for probably 4 or 5 games to go on at once, which definitely is enough capacity for us to all get our games on.
Oh, you're dedicated. I mean, do you bring people into like your dojo and then train them too, or is this just like,
That's exactly how it works. Is that when people first start coming, they aren't bats yet, and so it's sort of a mark of commitment if you keep coming week to week, and you sort of sometimes you get the beat down. But those folks who keep coming that are really fun to hang out with and like being there and want to win, when that moment does happen, they're always really really excited. They get their dice and objectives and jersey and the with little celebration of it, and it's a good time.
now my headcanon for bats is going to be something like in Batman Begins, where he goes into like the Himalayas or whatever and trains in the mountain, except it's going to be your garage.
That's what it feels like. And some people are, a lot of folks are pretty dedicated. Where we've had people show up to the Batcave for months before getting in. So I mean, it's commitment.
That's awesome. Well, you're building a great scene, and as the leader of that scene, you again took down the Dallas Open this weekend. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, what was the format? How big was the tournament? Was it Swiss or brackets, or what was going on?
We had 42 players, I think it was. Definitely fewer than Games Workshop was hoping for, which was definitely unfortunate. For me, it was actually a lot more than I expected. I didn't really think a lot of people would be flying out, and I didn't know that Dallas itself had such a large local scene. But it turned out both of those things were true. They have Dallas has a pretty strong local scene, and a ton of people flew out to go to Dallas. So we ended up with 42, which was a really, really great number of people given the number of rounds that were committed to. Day one was pure Swiss, and then there was pods that were formed with the top eight having a seeded top eight. So that means that the first round was deterministic, but the rounds from there were based on random within tournament points.
And I think I heard it was 7 rounds in total.
Yep, 7 rounds. It was 4 rounds day one of Swiss, and then the 3 day pods of eight day two.
And then was it mixed boards, open and into the dark?
It was a 50-50 of ITD and open. I ended up playing the majority of my games on ITD. On day one, 3 of my games were on ITD, and then only 1 on day 2. So four out of my 7 total games were ITD, which is definitely always fun with Pathfinders.
Yeah, and so let's talk about Pathfinders. The Boogeyman is back, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think they ever left. One of the reasons I took Pathfinders was I wanted to take a shooty horde. I was really noodling on a couple of the matchups, like Felgor and Gellerpox after LVO. When I went to LVO, I had a pair of losses, one against Orion Wilfong and another against Adrian, both just fantastic players, and definitely never feels bad to lose to those fine gentlemen. But after the event, I was really scratching my head on how I could play Vetguard better to be able to handle those matchups. And then the data slate came out, and Vetguard had a couple of their tools removed that I thought that they really needed to make those matchups happen. So after that, I was thinking about what kind of team archetype would still be a shooty horde, but would allow me to handle especially Gellerpox and Felgor. And I settled on Pathfinders would be a fun choice to break those out and see if I could make it happen with them.
Now, had you played Pathfinders previously? I know you played quite a bit of Vetguard, right?
Yeah, I played a ton of Vetguard. Back from when the edition dropped, I played them, and then took them up again briefly to go to LVO because I thought they were, and I still stand by. I think they were strong enough to be able to win LVO. A Vetguard player, I believe, took second, so that was definitely the case that they had what it took to win the event potentially. However, I had never really played Pathfinders. I was never a Tau fan. In fact, I've often been on the Tau hating bandwagon. And I had a lot of games against some Pathfinder opponents, that I considered my rivals. Shout out to Travis Chang, an excellent player who played Pathfinders a ton and managed to whoop my butt a few times with them. So I had a healthy respect for Pathfinders, but had never really gotten into playing them. Until about a month ago, when I did some post LVO noodling and settled on Pathfinders, I thought would be a good choice for the current meta.
So let's talk about your games you played. How about give me some brief highlights from the first few rounds? Like, who did you play? What'd you go up against? And maybe some plays that you pulled off, or some things that caught you by surprise that you were able to overcome.
Yeah, well, the one thing, the one thing that sort of had my heart sink a little bit was when I found out that Mike Cortez was coming and he was bringing his Pathfinders. Mike Cortez is a fantastic legendary player from the East Coast that I had the absolute pleasure of TOing for when I TO'd for Nova back in 2022, and I caught a number of his games against some extremely strong East Coast players. Including Pathfinder and Redguard players. And in fact, I have very fond memories of his. And this was a streamed game for Nova 2022, where he went up against John from Can You Roll a Crit with a Pathfinder mirror match in the finals of 2022 Nova, and the game ended with a giant Pathfinder brawl at the end of the game. So just this giant chunk in the middle of the board of Pathfinders all meleeing each other. It was a hilarious finale to the game. So when I saw Mike, showing up on BCP with Pathfinders, I'm freaking out a little bit because this guy's got a ton of experience in the matchup, and I didn't feel really prepared. I had never played against Pathfinders as Pathfinders, and I only had about a month's practice with the team. Um, as luck would have it, it was round one. So I had an amazing, battle with him and managed to squeak out a win coming ahead. That ended up being my only open game day one. The rest of my day one was Into the Dark. Definitely a really memorable second game I had on day one against Rob's Mandrakes. Rob, a really, really great SoCal player. I've had the pleasure of playing him in a couple events now. And at first, I had the upper hand pretty strongly. I was able to use marker lights to almost kill a Mandrake off an objective turning point one. Actually, kind of crazy how hard I whiffed the roll for the Mandrake to live, but that's a story for another time. At the top of turning point two, my opponent overextended, and I managed to punish him pretty heavily, knocking out both the Dirge Maw and the Part Collector one of the other ones. The Chooser of the Flesh. So I knocked out the Chooser of the Flesh and the Dirgema, the first and second activations of Turning Point 2. So my opponent was down 2 operatives to my 0, which was, in Mandrakes versus Pathfinders, a pretty disastrous position to be in. But shout out to Rob. He held in there, and he managed to start moving his, using Shadow Passage to bring his Mandrakes around the board, and ended up almost taking the win from me by doing a pretty strategic reposition to move to the flank where I was weakest and just abandon the flank where I had a lot of strength. So that was a really, really memorable game that I almost lost from that.
Now, is this Hobby Highlander Rob?
No, it's a different Rob.
Oh, because I thought I saw Hobby Highlander Rob was there too, so I was
No.
hoping it was him in the kilt.
No, unfortunately, it was not him. So after that, I ended up playing 2 Into the Dark games against Hyrotech, which definitely is a rough matchup, but managed to eke out the win there. One of the things that I definitely wanted to dodge was Orion Wilfong's Felgor. I played a bunch of matches on ITD against Felgor as Pathfinders and never got the hang of it. I never felt really confident that I could win the matchup. Ended up dodging that matchup in two ways. One, because he took Gellerpox, so that invalidated that concern in the first place. Then also somehow we ended up dodging each other and not playing, which shocked me because it seems like we run into almost every event that we both play in. Anyway, so that closed out day one, and I was getting ready for the day two brackets where it was seeded. So I ended up playing Dakota for the first game of day two on Open. And I was feeling real nervous again for this game because Dakota managed to pull ahead of me 4-1 at the end of Turning Point 1 on primary, but unfortunately just lost a lot of material also in Turning Point 1 and wasn't able to hold the lead after that. Probably the most memorable play of the entire event was on day two. My second game was another mirror match against Mike Cortez again. So I drew him the first round of day one, second round of day two, and Mike was able to launch an attack on me that didn't quite work out at the end of Turning Point 1. I wasn't sure who was going to win initiative Turning Point 2, so I ended up giving my Soul Grenadier Pathfinder an extra APL. Not really knowing what else to do with my comms. It was sort of like, I'm just going to bank it, see what happens. I'm not sure what's going to happen in Turning Point 2. Things are going to get crazy. So when me and Mike roll for initiative Turning Point 2, something weird happened is that we were both hoping that we would lose initiative, because if you lost initiative, it meant that you could play the worthy cause ploy to actually go first. So it's a little bit of the Spider-Man meme of both players hoping they would lose initiative.
Just pointing at each other. I like it.
Exactly. I ended up winning the roll and taking initiative, which in hindsight, of course, I could have just forced give it to him, which is something I now realize after the event. But at the time, the stakes were high, so won the roll, took initiative. He spent for worthy cause, and he sent his Assault Grenadier into a room. An EMP grenade killed both my Assault Grenadier Pathfinder and my Transpectral Pathfinder. However, thankfully, I had my medic near my Assault Grenadier, which was enough to save my Assault Grenadier from death. And because the Assault Grenadier ignores the minus APL penalties, the Assault Grenadier still had +1 APL. So it was my go, and what I ended up doing was a move that won me the game. So I moved my Assault Grenadier forward, and then with my free dash from Montcalm that I turned on from the turn, I managed to slip the Assault Grenadier into the room that my opponent was in. And the really cool thing about the reposition ploy is you can do it if you're in engagement range, but if you don't, it still allows you to dash through engagement range. So even though I didn't start in engagement range, I didn't charge him. I simply moved forward and used reposition to dash right through my opponent's Assault Grenadier, who was blocking the door from me. So now I dashed through. I was touching the sort of as close as I could to the room. I dashed through onto the other side, and I was able to stand on the objective, throw a fusion grenade to kill the Pathfinder that was on the objective, and now I had three APL to the other Pathfinder that was on it, and then I tapped the objective to secure it in my favor. It was the secure mission. I pulled ahead 4-2. And that single move, I was able to sort of keep that lead of the 4-2 on primary for the rest of the game. And that move won me the game. So definitely the most memorable single play of the event. And I didn't even know before that you could do that with reposition. I sort of like reread the ploy a few times thinking about it, and I figured out that you could pull that off. So that was definitely the most memorable move of the event. And my opponent definitely called the TO over to really review the ploy, make sure it worked that way, but it does. And then, so that was my second game of day two. And then the final was against Leander, who is an excellent East Coast player, another player in Plasma Spam. And he was playing Hyrotech Circle. Unfortunately, there were two things going against him. One is that the board was really open, and two is that he didn't have a ton of experience against Pathfinders. And definitely what swung the game there was during the first turn, I launched a risky drone strike, sending my drone into his reanimator plasma site, and I was able to kill it. And at this point, Leander was faced with a choice. He could reanimate the reanimator, right, spending the free tactical ploy for Hyrotech Circle to save the reanimator from death. But if he did so, if I killed anything else, he couldn't revive it. Or he could save the reanimation so that if I was able to kill his engaged death mark or another exposed operative, he could save that operative from death. And so what Leander chose to do is he let the reanimator go so that he could save another Necron from death. The problem was I didn't have any other attacks available. This was the only thing I had, but he didn't realize just how far the threat ranges were, and I did not have another attack available. So he made sort of the choice to save other operatives, but there weren't any to save, and so for the rest of the game he could only reanimate one operative a turn, and that simply wasn't enough for Hyrotech to keep up.
Well, thank you for that recap. That's sounds like quite the tournament, and I love that you're learning things in the middle of the tournament, even teaching your opponent, who sounds like he's an amazing Pathfinder player, things that y'all didn't even realize you could do.
Yeah, this is the secret Pathfinder tech that I certainly didn't know about, but I think some people did. One of the folks from Cascadia actually reached out to me and said he knew about that move, so that was fun.
That's awesome. Now, I have a question for you. So, maybe this is what makes you such a good player, but you seem to have like a almost like a photographic memory of all of your games. Like I can't even remember what I did this morning, and you're able to just recite what you did over the entire weekend over 7 games. Do you take notes, or do you just get kind of have a knack for that? Do you feel like that you're able to go back and when you do make bad plays or what you think is a bad play to remember it and then figure out how you do it different in the future and kind of see that coming in the future?
Yeah, I definitely bad plays stick with me for sure. I remember, all the way back to some of the beginning of the edition, even some bad moves that I've made that have cost me games. Some games against Ace or Orion, where if I had done something different, it would have swung it. So definitely, I do a ton of analysis after my games and think about them to try to optimize my moves for the future. And yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say I have a photographic memory, but definitely I can remember sort of positions and plays in different situations I was in. And yeah, I definitely think it helps to analyze your play patterns and think about what could have gone better in games, particularly the games that you lose. I love losing games because it's those are the ones that you learn from.
So, congratulations on the golden ticket again. You are going to Worlds in November. And what are your overall thoughts on the Dallas tournament and just kind of the weekend in general?
I thought Dallas was an absolutely fantastically run event. I want to shout out to Ben Cash, who was the TO for the event. He did so great on the logistics, everything from answering questions that popped up, being a fair and impartial judge. You did great, Ben. Thank you so much for all of the help. The locals that I met from Dallas were fantastic. The people who flew in far and wide, the people who came in anywhere from only 15 minutes away to an hour, who were able to drive. It was great meeting them, and of course all the people who flew out from the west and east coast. Obviously really appreciate everyone else who was able to come out too. So Dallas was great. Another really cool part about Dallas was that the venue was a esports convention center, which means that they had this giant stage with huge screens that were streaming the games, and sort of doing a ticker tape of different things that were going on, including the winners of different events. That was super cool to see, and I definitely, if I was making decisions for GW, would recommend that they look for more venues like that in the future.
That is super cool. I expect our tournaments to be held in like a ballroom or something at a convention center, but that's I never even thought like an esports arena. So that sounds like it added quite a bit to it, especially if you're on the sidelines and waiting for a game to start or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is next for Chris Bacchi? You've got your golden ticket. Are you going to be coming to Tacoma still?
Oh, you bet. I've been just super excited to travel for Kill Team this year. I had no idea how long or if I'd be able to win a golden ticket, so I sort of put in my calendar just sort of all the big tournaments that I could think of, and I am going to Tacoma. I'm also going to be going to Kill Scream. I have not been able to go to any Kill Scream yet, so I'm excited I'll get to go to this one. And I'll be going to a variety of events like Nova, Atlantic City Open. I'm also going to the World Team Championships, which I'm super excited for, and of course the All Valley Team Tournament, which is a annual favorite of mine. And hopefully I'll get to see Cats for that one.
Yeah, it's we've been talking about making a trip down there. I know a bunch of us are definitely going to be at Tacoma and at Killscream, of course. Killscream is going to be awesome. It's going to be we're really trying to make it more of a rather than just like a Kill Team tournament, try to make it a whole convention, and we should have some announcements coming up soon for that. So for Tacoma, what are you going to bring? You won with Pathfinders. You're going to put them on the shelf for now, and also what are you going to bring in November when you go to Worlds? Assuming Worlds was tomorrow, what would you bring to Worlds?
To be honest, I just don't know. Probably not going to be Pathfinders because Pathfinders are not near and dear to my heart, and I was mostly playing them in order to win an event. Now that that's happened, I'm probably going to go back to my beloved Blades of Cain. I love that team so much. I've got like a giant flag. I'm thinking about doing cosplay for them. Like I'm really into Eldar, so it's probably going to be Blades of Cain for a bit. And I could not tell you what I would do if Worlds was tomorrow. Honestly, I just got to keep noodling on it and figure out what team I'm looking to compete with next.
Well, we should have at least two more teams before then too, with the termination box coming out. So maybe we'll see a shake up in the meta too, because we'll probably get at least one balanced data slate before then. But
I would, yeah, I would expect at least. And yeah, those brood coven, brood brothers guys, they look really cool.
on the Blades of Cain note, I've been playing Blades of Cain a little bit, and I've been having a really good time with them. And I've heard you on a couple things and seen you in the Discord, and I'm taking some notes. I'm still not totally there with them, but I'm getting a little bit better with them. So I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with the community.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to a tournament this weekend with them, so hoping I'll put up some points and then maybe make a little magic with them there.
I have a question for you, selfish question. I'm going to Tacoma. I have no idea what I want to take, and I have access to pretty much anything and everything. I could get something built by then. What should I take to Tacoma? I played Intercession Casterkin in the past, and I've been noodling with Blades of Cain a little bit of Felgor. But if you were to recommend to someone who's like a medium tier player who wants to do pretty good, what should I take?
Well, right now, I mean, one of the big, sort of quote hotness teams is Hyrotech Circle, and I think Hyrotech Circle is really strong for players, that want to compete, want to do well, um, but maybe don't feel sort of comfortable with some of the more fiddly teams like Pathfinders, and that's because Hyrotech Circle has a lot of built-in resiliency, with the reanimation mechanic and coming back with a lot of wounds. They can take a punch and keep going, but at the same time, with all the weird cryptech spells and positioning and ways you can layer things, they do allow for a lot of expression of skill, right? So it's the sort of high skill ceiling, but still are approachable and not super punishing if you mess up. As I'm sure you've experienced, if you mess up with Blades of Cain, it's going to really, really hurt. And that team does not have a lot of resiliency. So if you do positioning mistakes, you're going to pay for it. Definitely think Hyrotech Circle's pretty solid. I also think it's time to shine for Blooded right now. I think Blooded are just in a fantastic position after some of the recent nerfs that have gone around. And I think anyone looking to compete at a high level should seriously look at that team, the combination of ranged and melee threats, and their ability to, really stack and dogpile a lot of operatives when they need to. I just think Blooded are super flexible and really, really good in the current meta. So those are probably the two teams I would look at.
Well, I've got Hyrotech built, and I've got Blooded ready to go and painted and everything. So maybe I'll run those around. I got 2 months to figure it out. And I did hear actually there's a Blooded player from the Northwest. I'm not going to name names who is thinking about
I've
dusting him off.
Yeah, I've heard the tales as well.
Well, Chris, anything you wanna plug anywhere people can find you?
I'm not a big social media guy myself, but I'm a big fan of Lester's Workshop and Squad Games. You can find them on lestersworkshop.com. Dakota Lester, who heads that up, runs a whole bunch of tournaments all across, especially California and the South, sort of Southern California and sometimes Northern California. Two big tournaments we have coming up are the Bay Area Championships and the All Valley Team Tournament coming up later this year. If you're a Kill Team fan, the All Valley Team Tournament is the just most wonderful, really wholesome experiences I've ever been to for Kill Team, and would strongly recommend it even if you don't have a team to go with. Every year, the All Valley Team Tournament has free blades, which are people looking for teams that just sort of come together in the last minute. The All Valley Team Tournament is a magical experience. Could not recommend it enough. Bats is looking to field 3 teams, so that's 9 people. It's teams of 3. So if you can come, if you've got a couple buddies you want to go with, could not recommend All Valley Team Tournament enough. That's coming up in September.
Awesome, yeah, like I said, I think we're trying to get some Kill Team Cascadia people down there, and then the Bay Area Championship is this weekend, right?
That is this coming weekend. That is the our replacement for the Bay Area Open. Bay Area Open this year is only doing 40K. They're not doing any other events. They're basically in the process of switching venues right now and just didn't have space. Dakota is putting on the Bay Area Championships. It's a replacement for Bay Area Open, running the same weekend but a different venue.
Good luck this weekend, and thanks for coming on. Congratulations again to Dallas, and I will see you in Tacoma, buddy.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, and looking forward to seeing you guys in Tacoma.
Thank you so much again, Chris, for joining us. I think I said thank you like 42 times on that. And can't wait to see you in Tacoma. Maybe you and Tyler can have the rematch. Tyler, you gonna bring novitiates? He's bringing blades probably.
Yeah, I'll bring novitiates again. No, I'm probably gonna bring Nemesis Claw, but I'm never decided up until the day of.
Yeah, it's I'm I tried to. I'm having everybody's giving me like a therapy session on who to work through, who to bring. Y'all said like Felgor. Baki now says I need to bring a higher tech circle. Yeah, I got a lot of decisions and I have no time to decide. So besides Dallas this weekend, we had the Colossal Cage match up at Comics Keep in Bremerton, Washington, tournament that our buddy Connor had a big hand in putting on. And Connor, it went amazing. But let's talk about Tyler first road trip.
Oh man, that was quite the day in the car. I don't know if I've actually ever spent that much time in a car except on a road trip going interstate.
Yeah, you had a good like 3 hours of like work time before you even saddled up in the Outback with me before we headed up north.
Yeah, I was in the car for like 5.5 hours before I got to your place, and then good 3 plus on the way up to Bremerton.
Well, I appreciate the soundtrack because by the time we got to I think close to Longview, I was like, all right, let's put on some music, and I said nothing too hard, let's something good, and you put on disco, and
Yeah,
what was the name of the lady you put on?
it was Jesse Ware. What's My Pleasure? One of my favorite disco albums of all time. I think it's incredible. It's like pretty recent, and every track on it's a banger. It's on my constant listen.
Yeah, that's going to my rotation now. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, she's incredible. Her stuff's just completely underrated. I get a lot of like reputation for like only listening to heavy metal and stuff like that, but like I like it all. I have a very deep, deep, listening variety.
Do you remember what the second one we listened to was? I can't remember what it was.
It was the Porno Holocaust soundtrack.
Yes, and actually that was for the name Porno Holocaust. It was a very good soundtrack and like not as much porn as I'd hoped for.
What is the story behind the name of that? Do you have any idea, Tyler? I spit my drink hearing that.
Yeah, so like it's an Italiano film, which I don't. Chuck, you may be familiar with that Italiano, but like it's a genre film, a lot of shock stuff in it. And this was the soundtrack. It's a Nico Feta. I can't pronounce his last name. It's a very Italian last name. But he's just an incredible composer that worked on a lot of those films, and his music's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, it was super good, and I really enjoyed it. So, good 2 hours and 45 minutes. Never had a chance for a rest stop because I messed up and didn't get the rest stop. We arrived at Comics Keep, and Connor was there painting terrain for the tournament we were going to play the next day because Connor, you were ready to go.
Yes. Thankfully, got over the course of the week those 4 boards of terrain done. So thank you, especially to Zarin. He was a huge help in just being part of my dry brush action monkey man team. But yeah, you guys showed up, and Tyler, thankfully, and you brought a ton of terrain as well to help, and pretty much just ended up using all of yours except for like some of my ITD boards. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, we used a couple of my Into the Dark boards and a couple of Tyler's Into the Dark boards, and then we met Shane or Sean or who is it that runs the store, Connor? You kind of fumbled his name in front of him multiple times.
Yes, because I suck, and I am so sorry to Shane. So Sean is the store owner, but the employee Shane, is often there on Friday evenings with us, and I messed up the names because I suck.
Well, sucks to suck. So thank you for owning it and doing it multiple times. I got quite a laugh out of it, and he didn't seem to care though.
As he said, it's a problem that faces them a lot because I guess there used to also be another employee named Sean, but spelled differently than store owner Sean. So that made me feel a little bit better, but still a bit of egg on my face.
So after we spent some time setting up boards, and Connor, you and I set up the Into the Dark boards, we left the real task to Tyler with the actual open boards because I don't know how to set up an open board, and anytime anybody else sets it up, Tyler's like, let's not.
I'm picky about it. I set up a lot of boards. I try to make it fair. I don't like symmetry on my boards at all.
That's fair. It's always good to have asymmetric to make the entire aspect of picking a side matter. Tyler, do you have any like core rules you try and follow when setting up an open board?
Yeah, I try to make sure that first off it's asymmetrical. That you do have safe zones in your cover, but you probably can't get an entire 14-man team completely safe behind heavy cover. You'll be able to get light cover for almost everyone. Maybe you need a barricade for optimal positioning, but there's never going to be a situation unless you're just willing to pile all your guys up together behind that one piece of heavy where I give you just complete safety.
We let Tyler set up the open boards, and we used a lot of Dakota's into the dark boards. I think we had 4 of the 6 into the darks were his asymmetrical setups. So thank you again, Dakota, for doing all that hard work. And we need more of those boards. You gonna crank some of those out for us? Those are starting to get stale, buddy. We need some more.
That, or I need to figure out the program he used to create them, because I will spend an entire workday instead of paying attention to my job just trying to develop them. They're really fun. I like the asymmetric. It solved a lot of my issues. So, like Chuck said, I want more.
Well, you work for the government, right? So we, spend our tax dollars making us game boards.
I think most of our listeners would probably appreciate that over like whatever actual government work I'm supposed to be doing.
Don't you work for the military industrial complex?
I sadly do work for the military industrial complex. I went to school to become like a public planner to design like, some mixed use development housing and stuff, but no one wanted to hire me, so I had to sell my soul.
Yeah, so FBI handlers who are listening, Connor does only good work on company time, especially government defense contractor stuff time, not ever making Kill Team maps.
God, no.
By the way, FBI listener handlers that are listening, thank you so much. Leave a comment, 5-star review. That's all we ask.
Yeah, we appreciate it,
So after we set up the boards at Comics Keep, we retired to our respective place of rest. I went to Nick's house, hung out with him. Connor, you went back to your place, and Tyler, where'd you stay?
I got to stay at Connor's mom's house. It was lovely.
So I'd like the Yelp review of Connor's mom's house.
She was a lovely host who made me feel welcome and gave me all of the amenities I needed to feel comfortable and have my needs taken care of, such as a warm bed and privacy in the basement of Connor's childhood room.
For $20, what's Connor's mom's name?
I don't think it was ever said. I think he only introduced me as mom, or her as mom.
That's the correct answer. The correct answer is mom. Connor, will you ever let anybody stay at your mom's house again?
Yes, I will, because I am a good friend, and when someone asks for a warm bed, I will offer where I know one is. Because I am a kind person, Chuck.
So you're saying there's always a warm bed at your mom's house?
There is a warm spare bedroom in the basement, separated by like 6 doors and 2 other flights of stairs. So yes.
You've done the math on this one?
It's rough math, but yes. I know at least 2 flights of stairs. I don't know how many doors.
The only thing that was kind of awkward, honestly, about the whole thing was I was wearing my sci-fi sluts for reforestation hat when I met his mom, and like I'm closer in age to his mom than I am to Connor, so like that was a little awkward because I was wearing a very juvenile hat, and like here I am, hi, Miss Connor, looking like a delinquent.
If it makes you feel any better, Tyler, she is a 5th and 6th grade public school teacher. That is probably the least like awful thing she's heard in the last, I don't know, week.
So back to tournament goodness, since we're done with Connor's mom for now.
I'm going to bomb your house.
Tyler, part of our tournaments we really try and do good for people, and we have our bounty board, and our bounty board is all about charitable donations. You can, for $5, buy a bounty token. You can put it on a model of someone you're not playing, maybe a previous opponent, maybe a friend, and you get a raffle ticket as well. And we generally pick a charity that is local to us, but this time we picked a different charity, and we picked a charity that is more global than usual. Can you tell us a little bit about the charity we picked?
Yeah, well, we selected the Children's Cause Relief Fund. Obviously, there's horrible things going on over there right now, and no child should be hungry or unsafe. So, yeah, that's a worthwhile cause. Free Palestine.
Got a great moment in the tournament was when Yazzie came up to us, and I've talked to Yazzie on Discord before, never met them in person, but Yazzie is actually Palestinian, and really appreciated that we were highlighting what's going on internationally, and it helped make a personal connection with them. So I'm glad that while we're spending a day playing war games, we are connecting with people and helping out other people across the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason that if we can spend, $50 plus for a single box of miniatures, that we can't do a little bit of good for people who need it.
Back to silly game stuff. Connor, while we were there, I was actually on top of it. You weren't, and I'm really surprised. But there was AdMech reveals while we were doing the tournament, and I gave you my phone, and there's video of it. And Connor, I'll give you 30 seconds to describe what was going through you at the time when you saw your new toasters.
All right, let me get the stopwatch ready.
Time's already gone.
Oh, what bullshit. Okay. Joy, pure joy. I have loved the Horus Heresy Mechanicum line for so long. But they were all resin, which sucks because I'm lazy and I don't want to deal with resin. It's just a nightmare compared to plastic. I'm spoiled. But they're great. The new tech priest in it is fantastic because most of the tech priests we have in 40k kind of just like old crippled men and not cool, weird, spindly masters of destruction. So the new tech priest is great. All the vehicles are fantastic. There's the insect cyborg guys that look great. I love their poses. They got jetpacks. They're awesome. And then big ass knight looking like robot. How can you not love it? He's got a giant seismic plasma cannon for his backpack. It's the coolest thing ever. Perfect. I got it in pretty damn close.
That's pretty good. So, Tyler, did you get a chance to see him? I mean, I know you recorded the second half of it. Did you see the first half when he was like jumping up down, stomping his feet?
I did not. I did not see when he was literally having like a child's like jump for joy moment.
It was a glorious thing to see. Like, I know, Connor, you did an amazing job at organizing this tournament, but the most excited and the most proud you were was your new plastic robots.
Listen, 40k AdMech have been in a rough spot since like a couple of months after they got their Codex in 9th, and our reveals, Skatari Marshall is pretty cool, but the Sniper Boy is not the greatest. I like him, but he's not that exciting. So getting all of these is great because a lot of the guys that I play with up here for 40k, we're all pretty like casual. We use 40k as like more of a sandbox game than we do competitive compared to like Kill Team. So most of them are probably going to be fine with me homebrewing rules. I like to think I'm decent at homebrewing stuff without making it like my guy hits on twos and kills everything it sees. So this will be very fun. I'll have a reason to play with my toys.
All right, that was way more AdMech than we needed and way more AdMech than we promised. So let's get back to the tournament a little bit. Tyler, you were the head judge for the tournament, and we had a weird rules interaction with the Shadow Portal because we ended up having a Mandrake mirror match. And can you talk a little bit about the Shadow Portal and what happens if your opponent drops a Shadow Portal?
I mean, it says Shadow Portal. It doesn't specify your Shadow Portal. So I think you step through it is what you do.
So for those out there who don't know, the Shadow Portal for the Mandrakes lets you put down a portal on one side of the board and then put another one on the other side of the board. But we were reading the rules and it looked like you could use your opponent's Shadow Portal. And it happened to be first round. We had two Mandrakes players going against each other. And one of the Mandrake players, Eric, who won actually Best Painted, pointed it out to us. And it never came up that they actually used it, but it was a pretty weird interaction.
I'm sad to hear they didn't actually use it because I was really hoping they would, because that just sounds so fun. It's absolutely something that should stay as is. I don't see a reason why you can't use your opponents. It's more fun that way. And mirror matchups are already so wacky that you might as well embrace the wackiness.
I think we need more wacky mirror matches like that because, yeah, that sounds awesome. Like, okay, so yeah, you're going to use a Shadow Portal and you're going to jump into your opponent's back line, but he's going to jump into your back line too. Can you guys off the top of your head think of any like weird interactions that would go along with that? Would be super fun.
I mean, Novitiates has one of the weirdest interactions in a mirror match. So when you're playing Novitiates, only one faith can be used unless it's specified other. So like you can use the reroll a couple times or the heal twice. I think are the only exceptions. But like other than that, okay, If you use a faith action in the mirror match, your opponent can't. So let's say you want to do something, you activate, you use faith points to heal your person, then they can't blinding light you.
And that kind of came up in your Las Vegas Open match, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It was very strange. Well, we didn't realize it until after the fact, but like we were discussing like weird interactions, and we realized that was the case.
I want to see more weird interactions like that. I want to make it like I want to make mirror matches more weird. Like if you're playing against Admech, then you both suck.
No, you suck. Admex would be fun because it'd be just who can turn off their rerolls longer.
I think the admex, it should be if you're playing a mirror match, you actually get the negatives because they're hacking each other.
That'd be pretty cool too. That would definitely make it super wacky, and I'm gonna have to try and find someone that plays Hunterclade in the local area to try that out with.
Maybe it should tell you something that nobody plays Hunterclade in the local area.
That's because they just know I'm the greatest at them, and that there's no point in even trying, Chuck. So eat my ass.
I appreciate the offer, but I'm gonna pass. Thank you.
Fair enough.
So let's talk to the winner of the Colossal Cage match. Zach was nice enough to sit down with me earlier this evening, and let's hear from him about his tournament and what's in the future for him. We heard previously from Chris Bacchi about the Dallas Open, but let's talk about the real big tournament this past weekend, the Colossal Cage match, and we are joined by the winner of the Colossal Cage match, Zach. How you doing, Zach?
Oh, hey, I'm doing great. Thanks, Chuck. I don't know if it's bigger than Dallas, but in my heart it was.
I mean, Texas thinks everything is bigger there, but it was a little bit smaller in Dallas. We had 24 players, and at Comics Keep up in Bremerton, Washington, our first inaugural tournament up there, and it went really well. But let's find out a little bit about you. How long have you been into gaming, and what got you into Kill Team?
Yeah, well, I think recently, I guess tabletop gaming is the big thing. I've been gaming, video gaming quite a while, but what got me onto the tabletop away from the screen really was right before COVID. I started playing War Machine, which is a game actually done by a local company up here in Seattle, very close, called Privateer Press. And that was a tabletop game I really liked because it was, supporting a local business. And then I used to play at the game store where a lot of like the main designers and main artists actually played, like after work. I thought like, well, at least this will never stop. But it turns out with COVID and some changes, War Machine isn't really widely played. I only got into it enough to like build an army, play maybe half a dozen times, and then stop. And then pretty much a really, I don't know, long stint there between the start of COVID and maybe even a year after COVID, where I hadn't played anything on the tabletop, but I was interested. I'd caught the bug. I really liked the hobby aspects as being more into it. And then eventually I found the free time to get into Kill Team, I think sometime around summer last year. So it's almost been a year, maybe I've maybe been playing 11 months of Kill Team.
So your Kill Team anniversary is coming up. Anything you're gonna do to celebrate? Get a new team or anything?
Yeah, great question. I think organizing more events at my local game store, which is Waystone, actually just this Sunday, which is 2 days ago, right now, in the past. But I hosted a hobby day where we have this narrative campaign there, and we all painted up one of the Gallo Dark or Gallo Fall escape pods, and we painted up like the teams that we'll be playing in the narrative. It's just really fun to host events. I'm sure you also seem to have caught that bug, Chuck. But it's fun, once you're playing for a little while, it's also great to organize because I don't know, I obviously enjoy it a lot and would like to share with others.
Yeah, that seems like a natural progression for a lot of players as you play a little bit and then you want to keep facilitating and get other people playing. I mean, mine's kind of because I realized I'm not that competitive a player. I had some success last year, but I feel like I like the organization piece and I like seeing other people do things and get to those events that I previously played in. I'm getting a little bit of a bug to play an event again soon though. What do you what do you like about Kill Team specifically? I know you said you played War Machine before and some video games. What is it about Kill Team that keeps you into it?
Yeah, well, honestly, a big part of it is Games Workshop. As much as not everyone has a ton of admiration for that company and how they treat their IP, but you're talking to an actual Games Workshop, not the IP Games Workshop fan. I think they've done a really great job making this hobby accessible across a wide variety of ways to get into it. We have amazing books, amazing video games, and honestly, amazing game in Kill Team. Kill Team's great because they finally were able to take one of their biggest IPs and make the promise to the player that you can buy a box, paint it up in a weekend, and start playing. And that's what people really want, honestly. It's what they've wanted for a while, but now we have it in 40K with a great rule set, and I just don't think that can be beat. I've been absolutely in love with it.
Are you gunning for a job at Games Workshop or something? That's the nicest thing I've heard anybody ever say about them.
Yeah, well, it's hard to run stuff in productions like they do. It's very easy to poke a ton of holes, and I understand, no company is perfect, but I think the rise of just what they've been able to do over the last couple of years, especially post COVID, has shown a lot of really great returns.
Yeah, I will say I'm a fan of Games Workshop as well too, and I have my minor beefs with stuff. Like I wish Kill Teams were out already, and I wish Blood Angels had a Death Company Kill Team. But beyond that, I also agree with you. They do a really good job. I was just poking fun at you there. But let's talk about your tournament history before this weekend. Is this the first tournament you've won, or have you won tournaments previously?
Yeah, this is the first tournament I've won. So, like I said, I've been playing for about a year. My first event I ever went to was Tacoma, which is where I met all you lovely people. But I'm not sure you actually made it out there, Chuck. Maybe you're one of the KTCs that didn't quite get there.
Yeah, I had an event last year for Tacoma. If last year Tacoma was the first one, and then actually the first Tacoma, I was there, but I was just kind of hovering around and doing some hobby stuff. But I haven't played it either Tacoma. This one will be my first.
Nice. Yeah. So it was last year's, which is the Games Workshop, used to be called Seattle Open, now called the Tacoma Open. That was my first event, and I really didn't know what it was going to be like. War games, I think their audience is vastly changing, at least from my perception. In the hobby, I played a few games when I was like, 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago. Don't make me think about it. But the people who are into it now, one thing that Ben from Battle Brothers says a lot is Dad Hammer Kill Team. I think that really is true. The people who are able to play Kill Team, even at a competitive level, you get a much wider array of people because the hobby is so easy to get into. The game is so easy to get into, way lower ceiling. And that was my first event, but I didn't win any. Tacoma, I ended up coming. I won my first day. I was the number one player for a little while on novitiates at Tacoma. That was very fun. And then I think I ended up finishing 8th. I got to the semifinals, and that was a great experience. But honestly, the experience that topped that was just meeting all of the amazing people in the community and seeing, really opening my eyes to the people who come to play these games are so much different. Like I used to feel like it was all very sweaty, competitive, and here everyone was giving each other high fives. They were giving out swag. We were exchanging Discord, stuff. Everyone was talking about their hobby aspects just as much, if not more, than the competitive. It just blew me away. But that was my big event. Then I actually did the Command Point Discord, which does a lot of TTS teams. I ended up getting into the quarterfinals for the international event. Now, this was a digital game, but it made me, I got to play a slew of a lot of great people around the US, as well as some international players, and that was really great. I think I ended up playing, I believe, 7 rounds out of the 9, so I got to the quarterfinals there, which was really fun. Then I went to Kill Scream, and I was right there with you that last day. I think I had a game where Brandon Bean eked me out unblooded by just 1 point right before he played you. So that was an incredibly awesome game. And then I went on to play Matt Wilhelm in a really fun, who's the intercessor player who ended up winning Tacoma. We ended up trying to do like a really fast bullet game. That was really cool. I love bullet games. We might get into that, but I really love quick games of Kill Team. And then that kind of ends and then I came down for Blunt Force Beatdown. Just ground them all off. But that was a great event we had, 420, so it was that nearly a month ago. That was really fun too. Most of these, and I went to Adepticon. And at these events after Tacoma, I started taking a ton of pictures, which you can find on my site, Disregarding Dice. And I bring that up because part of coming to these events, yes, we're here talking about the result of the event, but another great part is all of the hobby aspects, getting to talk to people about how they paint the miniatures, talking about lore, whatever gets someone into Kill Team or Warhammer, just talking to them about what they find interesting, I find fascinating. And one of the things that like enables me to have all these conversations is take a ton of pictures and I host them up because so many people put so much time into painting their model, but then they can never get a good picture of them, which is so frustrating. And so I like go take these. So it's just as important as my results is all the, all the friends and pictures we took along the way, Chuck.
Yeah, your photography is awesome actually, and I've done a little photography on the side in the past, done some like weddings and high school seniors and stuff, and I for some reason cannot photograph miniatures. So I appreciate what you do. I've got a great picture of my Casterkin that you did from I think it was Killscream. So yeah, it's an awesome thing that you bring to tournaments when the light box comes out and you highlight people's teams because like it's hard to take pictures of miniatures. It's one of the things that I struggle with.
Yeah, it's incredibly challenging. I could geek out about miniature photography for a very long time, but I do have a patented TM process that I'll share with anyone who wants to talk to me, and I'll talk about it for like 20 minutes and give you a spiel. But I've like really generated a particular way to do it that I think produces some great results. But it's very hard to understand. You gotta know a lot about optics and camera internals and all this crazy stuff. Just imagine as much you geek out about Warhammer, you have to geek out that much about cameras.
Yeah, you talked to me a little bit about it briefly, and we'll have to sit down sometime, and you'll have to run me through it so I can recreate the Zach method TM pending patent pending. Killscream 2 you mentioned. You and I ended up in the top 4 of that one, and I was really glad that I didn't have to play you in the first round of that because I was terrified of your novitiates. I ended up playing Matt Wilhelm, and I feel like I lucked out by getting him because Blooded, we saw what happened with Blooded. I got beaten down by Brandon, and I was afraid of your novitiates as well too. So I think I kind of lucked out on that one.
You did a great job. It was a great run.
Now tell me about this bullet game, or what'd you call it?
Yeah, no. So I've really gotten into. So when I was first playing, I played a lot of players who were quite a bit better than me, and I knew it. We both knew it, And one thing I realized is if you can give a fast game to a good player, they're interested in playing you. And if you give a slow game to a good player, they're not as interested. They're not like immediately ready to go again. Or maybe, hey, maybe if you're super lucky, you get in 2 games. And so what I did learning starting out is I knew I was going to lose. I knew I was going to lose badly, but I would make every activation in less than 3 minutes. And that kind of carried over to I've actually played a few times now bullet games of Kill Team where it's like you have to go less than 60 seconds every activation. I just really enjoy that, and it actually definitely comes over to my tournament play because if someone's willing to engage in a quick game with me, at an hour and 20 minutes is not unheard of. And I think that's I don't know. I just love playing it because you still get to learn a lot or maybe even more when you're playing a speed game of Kill Team, seeing what happens where and what were the big mistakes.
Well, I'm gonna have to try that out because I know that timing is a big thing for a lot of people, and I think maybe having less time to make decisions, you'll make bad decisions and make good decisions at the same time, and you can really learn from it. Also, they advertise Kill Team as like a 45-minute game. It's not a 45-minute game.
Yeah, no, I wish. No, I mean, I've had maybe a couple games 45 minutes, but no, most of them not.
If a Kill Team game ends up being a 45-minute game, something went horribly wrong for one of the two players. Oh. Well, let's talk about your games this past weekend at the Colossal Cagematch. So you brought novitiates. Was there any other teams you thought about running, or were you all in on novitiates? I know you've got like something like 200 games with them.
Yeah, I actually went into this to the tournament or into the event at exactly 200 games on novitiates, and specifically 200 competitive games. So keep a little spreadsheet of all the competitive games I played because I thought it was fun. I went in with 200. Now I have 204. Haven't got a game in yet since the end of the event. So that should tell you maybe that I was always on novitiates. For me, understanding the game through a single team is very interesting. You said, hey, I'm not that competitive. I actually don't think I'm all incredibly competitive either, but I love learning. And I think you get to learn the game more and more deeply if you stay on a single team, regardless of result. For me, I don't care about taking away a huge result. I'm there to do my lovely camera stuff, but also play games in which I can learn. And right now, just getting novitiates is a very hard matchup, a very reactive matchup where you almost countering your opponent's play more than you're actually playing your own game. And so I essentially get to learn Kill Team all the time. And that's why I love the team. And that's why I haven't really considered any other team.
Was there any players or any teams that you were afraid to run into?
Yeah, in the event, I think, teams with like competent players are what really I take note of. And so on this particular event, we had Sean bring his Pathfinders. I think Pathfinders are a great team. The results from Dallas kind of speak for themselves, but I'm surprised we haven't seen more results like that. It is a hard team to get into, but also I think some changes and perceived nerfs, have kept more people off that team than maybe it should. And then I also know that Matt Wilhelm brought Commandos, and just any competent player playing Commandos is very, very hard. Those were the two I was really, really like, oh, if I get paired into either of these, this is going to be an uphill fight for me. I think we also had some great other players, and they brought teams that I thought I had at least an even chance against. One of those was Eric on his Mandrakes. One was Brandon Bean on Warp Coven, and those are great players. But also, I think those teams I get to have a relatively even game where we're making it like first to make a mistake is the person who loses, and I'm fine playing a game like that. Looking at this Pathfinder player, this Commando player, who they're great players in their own right. I don't think my skill is very much outskilling them, if any at all. Maybe they have some skill up on me, and they're playing teams that I believe give them a starting advantage. That was rough. So that was what I was thinking about.
Now you did end up running into Eric and his Mandrakes. I was really interested in that game. I kind of hung out and watched a lot of it. What did you think about the Mandrakes? And had you got a chance to play into them before this game, or was this your first game?
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring up the Excel. I'll tell you exactly how many games I've had on Mandrakes. So the Mandrake matchup, I have 4 games. I guess I shouldn't, no spoilers yet, but the majority of, well, I guess there is spoilers. Wait, I'm talking here interviewing me because I won. Okay, yeah. So I have 3 wins and 1 loss. The first loss of the Mandrakes was actually against Grant, and that was my first game into Mandrakes. But I think I lost my first game because I didn't quite understand the rules, and now I'm 3-0. And so I think that team, it's very scary. It has a lot of gotchas. I think in my assessment, it has about 5 gotchas that if you don't think about every activation, you will lose the game. And that's very hard to compete against. That said, if you can keep that in your mind and you can come up with a game plan, I think they actually play at a disadvantage to many teams. But that's much easier said than done. Yeah, just keep 5 rules in your mind at all times, every activation you make. Yeah, no, not an easy thing.
Yeah, I have a hard time remembering my own rules, much less 5 gotchas on another team. So I'm interested to try and play them. Actually, I we had 3 Mandrake players at the tournament, and it was kind of interesting to watch them go about their business. And Eric did really good. He made it to the top 8, and I think he was top 5 all said and done. But how did
Oh,
that
I think
game?
he ended up number 2
Was
overall,
he?
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he did really good. His team was beautifully painted too, and his board was amazing as well. He
Yeah,
actually
he
won.
won Best in Painted. Absolutely beautiful. It had an amazing. I wasn't able to bring my camera this time, which is too bad. Eric, if you're listening, please let me photo those mandrakes next time. But he had some amazing wet blending done on the flames.
Yeah, I had to pick his brain because I've been trying to find a scheme for my mandrakes, and I just haven't. And I'm just gonna straight up copy him now. That's what I'm doing. So
Yeah, you won't go bad. You won't go wrong. They're really great.
yeah, they look awesome. So, and then you talked about Sean and Sean's Pathfinders, and that ended up being who you ran into in the final. Can you give me a brief synopsis on how that final game went?
Yeah, this was an interesting one. So round 4, I found myself my first 2 rounds ended in less than an hour, so I had a lot of free time, and it kept me pretty mentally loose. The game into Eric didn't spin like I started at an early advantage, and so going into round 4, I felt pretty mentally fresh. Even though my round 3 went to time, I was always ahead. I just had to not lose my lead. Round 4, I'm feeling pretty good, and we get into the dark playing secure, and it's LVO map 3, for anyone who wants to like play along at home. But essentially, that one, there's very interesting deployment where on the left side of the map, there's a whole room where there's no objective inside of it. And then there's a long room that has like 4 doors, which is 1 on red side, and then 3 on the 3, arguably 4 on blue side. And so Sean ended up winning attacker defender role and chose blue. And he's hoping to capitalize on the fact that he has a lot of doors to hide behind on that blue side and a lot of free mission actions and Pathfinders. The first turning point, it's pretty quiet, honestly. I'm looking. I don't. This is my I think 4th game into Pathfinders. I don't know the team super well, and it's very hard for me to remember every single operative. So even before we start playing, I like point to each one twice, and I'm like, "That's your Sa Shui. That's your," and I'm like just pointing to make sure I know exactly where every model is. And then Turning Point 1 finds us with not a lot of trades happening. I think only one shot goes off. Essentially, through this big corridor, um, Sean wants to come in and take the middle left objective. And to do that, he gives up a shot on one of his drones. So I move up and I shoot one of his drones and kill it. And that leaves us at 10 novitiates to 11 at the end of Turning Point 1. And honestly, I think that could have very well been the only shot that happened that turn. Mostly, it's Sean moving onto 4 of the objectives and me moving onto 2, with closed doors between most of the objectives, or at least the objectives on the far left and far right of the map. So it's interesting because they're going in, and the reason I'm spending all this time talking about the start is because I actually think the game, I think Sean would agree, kind of ends roughly 4, arguably 6 activations into Turning Point 2. It's because in Turning Point 2, we have 3 places of tension on the board. Essentially, on the middle left of the board in the long room, I have my Condemner sitting and ready to shoot another Pathfinder like railgunner, the special silent railgunner. One of his really cool shooters, right? In the middle objective, I have a Pergoddess ready to 2-for-1 one of his operatives along with one of his drones with a torrent. And then on the right side, we have tension where he has his Grenadier and I have an operative that can open the door and fight back with 3 APL. And so these 3 places of tension kind of means whoever goes first, might have 2 different ways to pull off a kill, and that will get them up. And I'm going into Turning Point 3 thinking like, well, I think I win initiative, but he steals it for 2 CP. And then I end up going better damage on my auto guns, full range on my auto guns. So my auto pistols for the team effectively become bolt rifles, which is pretty scary when supported by Faith Dice into Pathfinders. So essentially, I have 10 operatives that can actually shoot and kill. And he has roughly the same, honestly, that can shoot and kill me. So it's going to be very killy, but he has activation first, and there are 3 points of tension. So that means he gets to, relieve one, maybe killing, then I go, then he goes. So what happens is he steals initiative. He takes on the left side, which is my Condemner in this room, trying to hold on to objective, and his railgunner trying to hold on to objective. He's like, I need to kill this sniper. I don't want something silent that I can't really shoot. I have to move and shoot, which is really rough for Pathfinders. Don't want to do that. And he can't marker light because I have blinding aura. So I'll just waste his marker light activations. He's like, I want that thing dead. That's the most important thing. So he moves up his gunner and shoots my Condemner. And unfortunately, he doesn't get a great roll. 4 of it, he gets a crit and a hit from his roll. And then I use faith points to actually save all of it and only take 2 mortal wounds. This is pretty... It takes me an investment of 3 faith points, which is the max you can possibly ever use, especially because it's an AP1 gun. And so I save both of those with a crit save and a normal save. And that leaves a huge problem for Sean in that flank, because now I have an operative who's on conceal, who can't be marker lighted, or could be, but he'll waste so many activations, he's going to get behind the mission very, very quickly, and he wasn't able to remove that. That's bad. What makes it worse is it's now my activation. I take my Flamer in the midpoint, and I do a 9 action called Burning Advance, gives it a free dash. I essentially take out 2 of his operatives in the midboard. So now we're looking 2 activations into Turning Point 2. We have 9 Pathfinders and 10 Novitiates. That's not great. On top of that, I've killed 2 ready operatives, and he's killed no ready operatives. In fact, the only attack he has back is on the left side. So he tries this. He opens the door using not Moncaw, but the other crazy word that Pathfinders have. Opens the door, chucks a grenade, and that grenade again fails the roll enough that my faith dice save it. So he also doesn't kill another of my very killy operatives on the right side of the board, which is the Penitent, which is like my big eviscerator girl with 3 APL. So that fails, and then I'm able to kill his grenadier through in melee, and then close the door. So the problem is now I think I've just outlined 4 activations into Turning Point 4. Unfortunately, we have 8 Pathfinders on the board, 10 Novitiates on the board, and the only operative that Sean might shoot very easily without exposing himself is a non-ready operative. So the activation advantage is actually already insane. More stuff happens in the game, but really just in those first few Turning Point 2 activations and those 2 failed things, hey, praise the Emperor, faith dice are great, but also Sean's dice not helping him on either of those attacks. It leaves me at this really crazy advantage where I'll probably have to blunder more than one time for me to get back to even in the game. And so that's what we kind of see reflected in the score.
So at this point in the game, are you already like sizing up the belt? It was right behind you at the other table. I mean, do you feel like you've won it at this point, or did you kind of know where you were at?
It is still a dice game. Anything can happen, and Sean's a great player, so his dice might get hot, and my dice might get cold. At Adepticon, I was able to. My leader did over 23 wounds of hot to herself over 7 games.
Holy crap!
Something like every time she shot, she has a 2. For those like who don't know the profiles, it's 4 dice. You shoot hot, which means you'll take 3 damage if you get a 1. You shoot 4 dice, and then my faith points, I can re-roll any die, or I can upgrade 1 fail to and I can upgrade 1 fail to a save. And every single shot, I spend max faith points so this lady doesn't take hot damage. I rolled something like, I don't know, 12 ones over 30 dice, probably even more than that. I'd have to go look. So my dice can get cold. Anyone's dice can get cold. And I know if I see that kind of dice results here in this game, it's still a game here, but assuming even dice, assuming enough faith fixing, I know I'm ahead, but I still have to be present and make sure the game reaches this conclusion.
So apparently the Emperor protects in Bremerton, but not in Schaumburg.
Turns out that is, at least my experience, that seems very correct.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the win. What were your thoughts on the tournament format? It was a 24-player tournament for those who don't know, and it was mixed Into the Dark and open boards. And it was the KTC open boards, so most of them were set up by Tyler and some varying terrain and stuff. So what'd you think of the event, and what else would you like to see at Kill Team Cascadia events?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the event is immaculate. I think the way that KTC sets up boards is great. I know Tyler is one person who sets up boards. There are more than one of you, so y'all do a great job. I actually wanted to plug, talking about the maps, on my website, Disregarding Dice, I'll be hosting Alexa's map, who's the world champ, released a map pack. So you'll be able to find it there. The reason I say that is because Alexa's maps look a lot like the maps that y'all put together. I think these open boards that you're able to piece together look really, really great. I think they play super well. But also, we're just kind of talking about the mechanics of the game and how that works. I think the special sauce is everything around what goes into these events. We have a really great bounty system you guys have put in place. We have a really awesome, best painted every time. The prize support's great. You all run an absolutely amazing, event. Judge calling's quick, easily done. I think you guys had like 5 judges there for 24 people, so almost won a table. We're getting close.
Yeah, it was a little judge overkill there.
Yeah, But that was really, that stuff is really great, and and the events go so smooth, and they go. And one thing y'all do really, which is really great. I really haven't spent a lot of time in Bremerton. I get to go different places, meet different people, and then also go to all these different hobby stores, and that's really awesome. I don't think that's something that every single scene gets to do. And so, yes, the boards are set up great. Yes, the judging's great. But man, just like the organization overall is incredibly smooth. Everyone who shows up is incredibly chill. The vibes are on point, and if they weren't on point and I was winning games, I probably wouldn't come. And that's the more important thing. And y'all knock it out of the park.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we put a lot of hard work behind the scenes into it, and I'm glad it shows up and makes a good event for everyone. I really enjoyed them before I was part of the organization, and that's part of the reason I'm part of the organization now. So, what's next for you, Zach? Are you gonna make it down to the Skinning Pit Summer Slam on June 15th? Or are you going to Tacoma?
Yeah, I will definitely be going to Tacoma. I think I have June 2nd, Sean, the person who I was playing in the finals, actually hosting something in Bremerton. I don't think I can make it to the pit. I'm sorry. Not this time around, maybe next time. And I'm very excited for all the events, but especially excited for Tacoma just to meet a ton of people again. It's so awesome when we all, you have a bunch of Kill Team people all together in the same place.
You
So
got
I'm pretty excited for that. And, spoiler, every single event I listed, I'll be bringing novitiates. So I'll be there playing my gals.
So novitiates have been banned, and you have to go to a tournament tomorrow. What would be your next team?
Yeah, okay. I would seriously consider Ecclesiarchy because they actually have a little more play than people think. I think, like, relatively hot take. I do believe Ecclesiarchy might have more play than Talons of the Emperor. I don't know about High Fleet. High Fleet have some very interesting skews based on map. Anyways, Ecclesiarchy is pretty high, and that would be Sisters Battles again. So I'm just cheating. So
Yeah,
to
just right
not
back to
cheat,
sisters.
yeah, exactly. To not cheat and really answer your question. If I had to take another bespoke team, I think I would seriously consider bringing inquisitorial agents because I think they have so much character, or maybe vet card. I'm working on these teams right now. And I'll tell you about my amazing conversion. I'll just give me 3 sentences. Let me tell you about this amazing thing. But essentially, I bought a ton of Bretonian foot knights. And so what it is my, Sisters of Battle faction landed on this aggro world and converted, or this medieval world, this dark world, convened all the knights there to fight for the emperor, but they're really just like guardsmen, but they also have the faith in the emperor. So with their terrible knight armor and their faith, combined, they make one guardsman or one human. So I'm excited to be proxying like all of the human teams with these half Bretonian, half Sisters of Battle or Guard kit bashed humans. And so I could see myself playing either of those.
That sounds super cool, and I think that'd be a good team for you too. I think you can, you drop 200 games into Vetguard, and you can probably find the synergies like you have with the novitiates too.
Yeah, I hope so. After 200.
So you were top 8 in Tacoma, top 4 at Killscream, and now you've taken down the Colossal Cagematch. What's one thing that you would, besides playing 200 games with the team, what's a tip you would give to people who want to be more competitive at tournaments?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the real answer is just play quickly and know your rules. And everything else will follow from there because that allows your mind to focus on strategy over the minutia of, or strategy and tactics. I was going to say strategy, but really, I would say if even 10% of your mental energy is looking up rules, and you're like in analysis paralysis, your learning is going to be a lot slower. You should be able to know, like, be decisive and own your mistakes. And then also, while you're being decisive and owning your mistakes, make sure that's the thing in the forefront of your mind rather than your rules. And I think if you do that, then what you'll remember about your games is what you got wrong and what you got right. It won't be like, I was looking up my rules and then some stuff happened, whatever. You'll have a very clear idea of the outcome of the game, and you'll be able to refine your play over games. I think, yeah, just play decisively, learn your rules, lose a lot, and you'll be a better player than you are.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And now the most important thing, since this is the season of wrestling for Kill Team Cascadia, we've had belts at all the previous competitions. And when Josh won Blunt Force Beatdown, he had it in his room for a little while. Where's your belt right now, and where's its permanent home going to be?
Yeah, great question. So my belt is actually right next to, I have a very small condo. Right now it's pride of place in my living room on my coffee table. So it's there and it'll remain there for a little while, but eventually it's going to be shuffled into my hobby closet, which is where I also have my best painted trophy from Tacoma for my team. So all the trophies go into a closet eventually, but that's after they get to be out and enjoyed. It
Well,
was very fun when directly after the Colossal cage match, I came back and my partner was entertaining, and so I just came back wearing the belt as a hat, and everyone was very excited to see what was going on. It was really rad.
yeah, I think you keep it out for a while and enjoy it. But we've got a picture of you with it and the Warhammer trophy wearing the belt as a hat. So if with your permission, if we could throw that on the Vox
Oh yeah,
Cascadia Instagram so everybody
absolutely.
can see it. So awesome. Well, Zach, it's great to talk to you. Great to see you this past weekend. I'm sure I'll see you soon in the future. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, I have. So Disregarding Dice is the moniker, and you can find my blog at disregardingdice.com and on YouTube at Disregarding Dice. And that's all I got. Sorry, you guys don't get a Instagram from me. But thanks, Chuck. It was obviously amazing hanging out with you there, and it's been great to talk to you again.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.
All right, thanks, Zach. It was great to talk to you, buddy. And I will see you at Tacoma. And you promised you're bringing that airbrush shot for me. So if y'all don't know, go back a few episodes and tequila airbrush. It's happening.
Hey, can we pause for a second? I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it. There's no pausing. It's live. What are we doing? People can hear us. Oh my god.
This is odd. Bonus content right here. Chuck, what's this Dominatus thing you put in the Google Notes? It's not
So
loading for me.
yeah, that's it's a homebrew team that I found on Reddit about Blood Angels Death Company.
Ooh. Now I really wish
Yeah.
this would open.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I know this thing. I've seen.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
So what we're talking about, Zach, or you were just speaking to Zach, he actually brought me a bottle of Ouzo after hearing our previous podcast saying that I like licorice flavored liquor, like Jägermeister. I just went and poured myself a little shot of it. So I think I'm going to test this live on the podcast and give some feedback because it's supposed to be interesting.
Up the Academy.
Okay. So interestingly, like once it's ice, it kind of turns white. Strange. That's apparently the way it's supposed to be drank, but here we go.
All right, we have live reaction from
Oh
Tyler.
my god. Oh wow. It tastes that is intense. That is like good and plenty. The liquor.
It's like I said, man, it's like it's literally licorice liquid.
I mean, like, yeah, it may as well be licorice extract as far as strength. Flavor.
All right, but I heard though on the second shot it's better, so let's try another one.
All right, one more for prosperity.
Salud.
You know, it's better, honestly. I think it can be good in some cocktails. Like it has a strong taste, obviously.
So what do you mix it with though? Orange juice for sure.
Orange juice, maybe some honey and some mint. That sounds like it'd probably be good. Like a really strong flavor.
Yeah, I was kidding about the orange juice, but yeah, honey and mint. I could see honey and mint. Yeah, it's a taste to its own.
Yeah, maybe some like lemon juice and some simple syrup.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
All right. So, and I hear on the third shot though, it's really good.
Yeah. Let's finish this this little glass I poured myself. Here we go. Bottoms up. Oh wow, that was intense. That's a lot of Ouzo in. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
All right. And all right, now Tyler's on one. Let's go. Okay, so we heard from Zach, and so Comics Keep, Colossal Cagematch, post-tournament thoughts. Connor, you did a great job setting up and organizing it. It turned out really well. Comics Keep itself, also great place to play. The tables are really nice. We easily did 24 people and had a ton of room to move around, and they were super accommodating for us. Any thoughts you have after that tournament?
Just thank you so much to you guys and everyone else that showed up and came. It was a super fun time, even just helping answer questions and everything. So thank you for doing that. Hopefully everyone had a good time. Definitely want to do another one soon. I know it'll be possibly difficult doing that just because we got a full calendar for the next couple of months. Next time I'm gonna have to figure out how to get some more people in the space. Probably slamming some of the tables together, and maybe we'll try out Beta Decima. No, probably not. That mode seems awful.
We could maybe do 30, but it's going to get tight after that.
We'll do double decker tables.
Yeah, I'd be pretty tight doing much more than that, but we could probably squeeze a few more in there.
Yeah, and Tyler, great job being the head TO there. We had so much TO support. We had myself, we had Connor, Tyler, Cody, and Eric. We had 24 players and 5 TOs.
Yeah, you will never find yourself without a TO nearby if you need one at one of our events.
And I feel like I did really good when somebody called me over going, it's a great question. Let's get Tyler.
Absolutely. Defer when you need to, you know?
Which is most of the time. I actually did make a couple rulings, and one of them was just basically like, oh no, actually he's on conceal. You can't shoot him. So that was my big ruling of the day.
Yeah. One of the interesting interactions that came up was someone didn't know that if one of your models is already engaged or your opponent's models is engaged by your models in combat, you can actually pass within engagement range of them, no problem.
Yeah, it's a core rule, but it's not one that comes up often, and I think probably one that people don't use much.
It's one of the less known rules in the game. Every time I see it brought up, people are blown away by it. But like you said, it so rarely comes up that you kind of just never get to use it until it does.
So Zach wins the tournament, prizes are dispersed, and Connor picks a place for us to go to have dinner afterwards, actually. And we went to, what's the name of it? Axes and Arrows in downtown Bremerton, little gastropub. Actually, good call by you, Connor. Good food, good beer. Well
Thank
done.
you very much. I appreciate that. I had never been there before, so I was terrified it would suck. But it was pretty great. So now I have a new place to go to in downtown Bremerton as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I love like that basically everywhere you recommend you've never been. Like this happened multiple times over the course of the weekend when we talked about something. You'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'd go to this place," and we are like, "Oh, how is it?" And you're like, "I don't know, I've never been there, but it's supposed to be good."
The only place I really go to regularly is a Thai restaurant, but they sadly close at like 7, even on the weekends.
I do love a good Thai restaurant. What's the name of it?
I can't. It's a Thai. It's Thai is the name, but I don't actually know how to pronounce it, so I can't tell you really.
So, okay, so the one place you've actually been to that you can recommend, you don't even know the name to.
It's like Pho Van or something like that.
That sounds like Vietnamese.
I know, but
Okay,
I know
so
it is Thai at least.
okay, so I need you to go there soon. I need you to get the drunken noodles, sometimes called pad ki mao, because that's my favorite Thai dish. So next time I'm up there, you can let me know whether I need to try it or not.
It's all about the yellow curry. Come on now.
No, it's pad ki mao. Like yellow curry's basic. It's coconut, potatoes, peppers. Yellow curry's fine. Pad ki mao is where you really push the Thai envelope based on the
I like
opinion
the
of a
bamboo
super white guy.
shoots. I like the bamboo shoots.
Bamboo shoots, yeah, bamboo shoots are good. I agree, but I mean, yeah, I feel like yellow curry is not hard. I feel like I could do yellow curry, which says a lot. I feel like I cannot do pad ki mao.
You know what? Speaking on the topic of can and can't do food, you know what I found out this weekend that blew me away? That Brandon Bean does not like peppers.
Brandon Bean does not like peppers at all.
Yeah, like he said, he just despises them practically, and that blew me away. Peppers are so good. How can you not like them?
So, I mean, big fan of peppers myself. How we found out that Brandon Bean doesn't like peppers is Nick was nice enough to grab me some vegetable tempura for lunch. He brought it back. It was a ton of it. It was really good. And I got down the last couple pieces and I offered them up and gave them to Brandon. I said, hey, this one's an onion ring. I don't know what that other ring is. Brandon eats the onion ring. Brandon comes back to the other ring, finds out that it is a green pepper ring, takes a bite, spits it out back into the box. And that's when we found out that he didn't like peppers in his mouth. And Zarin, that one's for you.
It took me a second to realize what you meant by like big fan of peppers. I was like, I don't remember Chuck mentioning that, and then I remembered your last name. So well done.
Yeah, there you go. So while we were at dinner at the gastropub, though, we did quiz Sierra, your lovely partner, who we got to meet on Warhammer 40K, and a little bit of gatekeeping here. And I feel like she passed with flying colors. We asked her to name a Space Marine chapter, and she named the Blood Angels.
That's like one of the few chapters I talk about with her because she's seen the speech of Sanguinius. Like, there's a TikTok guy that does like voice acting of the speeches, and she really liked that one. But yeah, I was proud of her for knowing at least me and yours favorite Legion.
And what's your favorite Legion?
Mine?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, Blood Angels.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you're a Blood Angels guy too.
Yeah,
the lesser angels.
Listen, Dark Angels are cool too, but
Yeah.
I prefer Sanguinius. I like the like noble cause and noble people brought down by like a terrible curse. It's basic, but it's fun.
You mean savage berserkers, like who can barely control their thing, and the only thing holding them together was Sanguinius?
I mean, that too. Hey, the whole speech he gives to them when he meets them, it's just fantastic. And that made me a Sanguinius fanboy for life. He's just such a good guy, and it's tragic what happened to him, and Horus will pay.
I mean, as opposed to like Dark Angels who just have spent the last 10,000 years trying to hide the fact that half their Legion traitors, basically.
I mean, you got to have secrets. Can't give it all away for free.
Oh, we got secrets, buddy. I mean, come on, we drink blood. We're into vampire shit. We got secrets.
Yeah, it's like too Castlevania for me. Like,
I mean, it's less Castlevania and more like
it's Catholic
True
space
Blood.
vampires. Catholic space vampires.
I mean,
Catholic space vampires.
you can keep saying it. Doesn't make it true.
I
It
was
does. It's
raised
100%
Catholic,
true.
and whenever I pricked my finger as a kid for checking my blood sugar, I would just, if I didn't have a tissue, I'd just like the blood. So, it fits for me even more in that case.
Sorry, you do what, the blood?
You can't really see that. That's not good for an audio only medium, huh? I like suck the blood off the, because some of it would go in the strip, and then there'd be a little
Off the what?
Off my like finger,
Uh-huh.
and
then
the necks of my victims. I mean,
And in the episode, we find out that Connor's a serial killer and not just a diabetic.
it's not serial kill. Well, I guess, are vampires serial killers, or is that just like sustenance?
I mean, you could argue like, is it sustenance? Yeah, but is it also serial killing? Yeah.
But like, what if I'm killing like bad guys? This is stupid.
okay, so have you guys seen What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah.
I saw the movie.
Okay. The show's really good. You should watch it. Would you guys want to be like a werewolf or a vampire in that setting?
Vampire.
I like the werewolves just because of the joke. Hey, we're werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yeah, I'm also hairy enough.
Yeah, I would go with werewolves. I just think werewolves are cooler, personally.
Sorry. Or Tyler, does that mean you'd pick Space Wolves over Blood Angels, or do you still rank Blood Angels over Space Wolves?
I mean, like, Blood Angels are way above Space Wolves. Let's be real. Like, first off, they used to share a codex, Angels of Death, and that's how it should be. They should get one codex again. No more Blood Angels codex, no more Dark Angels codex, Angels of Death codex. They get one big fucking codex. And Space Wolves can fuck off. Other than Space Wolf players, because they're all lovely people for some reason.
I mean, furries are great.
And that's how we learned Chuck's fetish.
I don't play Space Wolves.
Sure, buddy.
I have one. Okay. Actually, I have 5 Space Wolf Reavers and a Space Wolf Captain painted, but that was just because I was branching out. It's nothing to do with my fetishes.
Fair enough. I wish the Space Wolves. My big hope, like we've completely derailed the topic from whatever we're talking about, but I like Tyler's idea of like combining codexes again, at least for Dark Angels and Blood Angels, because it'd be cooler that way and easier for everyone. And then a lot of their stuff's pretty similar, of like, knightly themed guys, different aspects of it. But I also wish that like each Space Marine, both Chaos and Loyalist, had proper unique units to each Legion. I know Space Marines already have a bajillion units, but it's kind of a shame that like Blood Angels and Dark Angels have all this unique stuff, and Imperial Fists and Raven Guard, even as lame as they are, only have like one unique thing, and it's a boring character.
I think you hit it on the head right there. It's because they're lame.
Yeah, they didn't. They literally didn't have anything interesting about them.
What are like Imperial Fist gonna like have a character that's a wall?
No, but
They're gonna all die.
True, they probably would all die defending Cid Wall, but like at least from a gameplay perspective, the Hounds of Mordecai, they're not very good because they're based on Reavers, but it's a cool idea. So it would be cool if there was like a unique version that only Imperial Fist could bring of like heavy intercessors or something.
So you're using Hounds of Mordecai as your example of like a cool Space Marine, Space Wolf like unit of all of the Space Wolves unit. They have frickin' Santa Claus, and you're using the Hounds of Mordecai?
Because that's the only one I could remember the name of, Chuck, and that's because I see the boxes for them all the time.
Yeah, they've got way more than that. I mean, they have frickin' Santa Claus.
True, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just meaning because like it's essentially just better version of a unit that already exists for all other factions, and you could probably do something like Death Company Assault Intercessors, but with jetpacks and actually good upgrade sprue included. But like that for Blood Angels, and like cooler Blade Guard vets for Dark Angels, and Ultramarines could get like, or not Ultramarines, Iron Hands could get like cooler tanks and stuff.
I mean, Dark Angels have like an entire fucking second company with unique units and special Terminators. Like they got a lot of special stuff. Honestly, just recently.
Speaking of that, bring me my new Sanguinary Guard.
Oh man, they need that really badly.
Hopefully soon, this summer, allegedly.
I've got about 15 of them painted up right now with the old bodies because I was a little bit of sweaty meta chasing in 9th edition, but I want the new ones.
Like that's the best use for stuff from Age of Sigmar, like all the new skinny Sigmar or Sigmarines.
All right, let's get back to the important stuff. So after the tournament, we had a lovely dinner, and then we retired to our respective places. Tyler, where did you stay?
I stayed at Connor's mom's again. Again, lovely hostess.
And her name is
Mom.
Perfect. Did you call her Mom?
I think I just said hi. We didn't interact too much. I basically stayed in the basement and only came out to shower and leave.
I'm sure Connor approves of it that way.
I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I was trying to, respect space. Plus, I'm not a morning person, and that's when I was there mostly.
Yeah, we did reconvene in the morning though. Myself, Tyler, Connor, Nick, and Sierra again, and we went to Family Pancake House in Port Orchard. And I have a question for y'all. I went with the veggie omelet, and Sierra did too, and then she added bacon to it. And she held the broccoli. And I wish I would have held the broccoli too, because I personally don't think broccoli belongs in a veggie omelet.
Broccoli for sure belongs in a veggie omelet.
I'm not a big texture guy, but this is one thing where I will hold the texture line. I feel like broccoli has to be either roasted or steamed too much, or it's just too crisp. And the crispiness, and yeah, I picked all the broccoli out. I'm not a broccoli omelet guy.
I think I'd be with you, Chuck. I like broccoli. This is going to sound weird and crazy, but like cooked broccoli on pizza can be pretty good. But that's when you're doing like a whole vegetable medley type pizza, which is kind of odd. But yeah, on a omelet, I disagree. I don't think it's too great.
No, thank you for backing me up on this one, Connor. Yeah, I should have held the broccoli. I didn't, but the hash browns with the cheese and the onions were delicious. Tyler, looked like you got some big waffles or pancakes?
Big pancakes, and they were dry as hell, honestly. I was not impressed. They're supposed to have like a berry comfy on it, and it was not much of it. Like it was okay, but like not impressed overall.
I feel like if your name is Family Pancake House, you got to do pancakes right. Well, the iced tea was delicious. So, and then after our breakfast, we then headed back down south, and Tyler and I stopped in Centralia, and I went to the Nike store and got some new running shoes, and Tyler got some undies.
Yep, I needed them. But, always good to pick up some on a discount.
Yes, if you're in the Washington area, pop into Centralia and hit the outlets there.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially after spending all weekend with Connor's mom.
You didn't. You did. Good boy.
You know what? I'm okay with all the Connor's mom jokes because I have a bone to pick. Tyler met Sierra for like the second time. They'd met before at a tournament, but in briefing. And he's, been polite, asking her what she does for work. And Sierra mentions that she's a graphic designer. And then Tyler gets blown away by this information, somehow forgetting or, claiming that I have never mentioned this. And I knew for a fact that I had mentioned it. I'm like 90% sure I mentioned it earlier in the day. Might not have. I can't confirm, but I know I had mentioned it before. So much so that when we get to the restaurant, Tyler asked Chuck, and Chuck's like, I don't think he mentioned it, like maybe in passing. But I'm like, no, this is bullshit. So I pull up Discord and go through all our DMs and our various chats in the Vox Cascadia or the Kill Team Cascadia Discord and find out and then name the dates and times in which I mentioned, like, hey, my girlfriend is a graphic designer. And there was at least like 4 or 5 instances of that. So I just feel vindicated.
I believe that there was one time that you DM'd Chuck directly about it, and then another time years ago.
There was twice I had DM'd Chuck directly, and then there was one time in either the Vox Cascadia or one of the like community planning channels that I mentioned it.
Tyler, Tyler, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I just had like a minute and a half of static. I don't know what was going on. Okay, well,
that would make me feel better.
So I talked to Eric the next night, also on the phone. We were just like talking about stuff, and I was like, "Oh, by the way, do you know what Connor's girlfriend does?" And he's like, "No, I know she works from home." He was saying something about that today. I was like, "Oh, she's a graphic designer," and he goes, "What the fuck?" He's like, "How has he not mentioned this entire time?" So if you mentioned it, it was in the most casual and passing way.
I know for a fact I mentioned it at Chucky Con, and all of you were there. And Nick even mentioned something. He's like, Connor, do they just not listen to you? And I think that's the answer. You guys just have learned, like my parents have, and anyone else, to kind of tune me out after a couple of seconds of speaking because it's going to be a long-winded thing.
Sorry. I think I keep having interference. I just like Tyler can hear you, but I can't hear Connor. All right. Well, I'll clean it up in post. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. We have coming up on June 15th, the Skinning Pit Summer Slam down at Shiv Games. It's going to be a 32 player tournament, actually. Tickets are still available right now. It's going to be a great event, and it's going to be that last like Tacoma tune-up as well, too. So, Tyler, you're playing, right?
I'm definitely hoping to play as long as we get all of our judges in order, which we usually do.
Well, I'll be there to pass off stuff, and it sounds like Matt Small's going to be there as a judge as well too. So I think we'll be good. You'll be good to play. Connor, are you going to come down for that?
Hoping to. Can't guarantee it, but odds are yes.
Yeah, we can get another game in. Game 2, finally.
That would be fun. Hopefully just not on the final table when the pressure is really on me.
Absolutely.
Tyler,
I'd love that.
Night Lords are going to be ready to go, right?
Oh, they're creeping towards finish. I've actually been kind of plodding away a little bit as we sit here, just doing little itsy bitsy stuff.
Awesome. And as always, we can find Tyler's shirts at diceroar.bigcartel.com.
Yeah, that's correct. Or you can check me out at Lowbrow Minis on Instagram and see the shirts there and follow the link from there.
And you've got some long sleeve stuff coming out. It's
out. It's out now. Yeah,
and
it's up for pre-order right now. So it's so hot.
Yeah, and you had a professional model this weekend too for some sizing stuff.
Absolutely. I'm trying to be better about marketing my stuff, There's been a pretty good response to this, so I figured I would have a handsome man I know throw on one of the shirts and test it out so I get some actual shots so people can see what it fits like. Now we just need to Photoshop it on.
And since there wasn't a handsome man available, I helped out. You're welcome.
Those photos of you, really good, honestly. So lighting was just perfect. Your beard was looking nice and full.
They turned out pretty good. I'm kind of proud of it. You were like, do some model stuff, and I was like, Vogue.
I think he hit a pose number 3 or something like that. I don't actually know the pose numbers, but that's what we're gonna say.
And then Connor, where can the fine people find you?
At Spanaway on everything as normal, and that, or of course, Vax_Cascadia on Instagram. And also shout out to Once Upon a Kill Team. They messaged me and said they've been super enjoying the podcast, and I appreciate that, guys. Enjoy your work as well. So thank you for the kind words.
Oh, that's awesome. I love those guys.
Yeah, they're super cool.
And I am Painty Cave Minis on Instagram. And if I ever post anything ever again, I will post this week. I promise. I've got some pictures from the tournament coming up.
You better, otherwise, I'll throw a fit.
Well, thank you again for Chris Bacchi and Zach for joining us, and thanks everybody who came to the tournament this weekend. Sign up for the Skinning Pit SummerSlam.
It's such a charming name. It rolls right off the tongue, huh?
It is. I do love the photo for it too. You got the wrestler who's rocking the Night Lord's outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a real photo too.
Yeah, I had seen on the internet. I'd seen when there was some wrestlers coming out with the Warhammer stuff.
Do you think that that's like officially sponsored?
No, hell no. GW's not paying for that. That's just fan stuff.
You never know.
Yeah, probably not. But you know who they're never going to come out in is AdMech gear.
I'm getting my plastic releases. I'm on cloud 9. I don't care what you say.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me, and thanks, Connor's mom. Have a good night.
Die.